Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
Trying to find teams. You panic.
Oh, we're a professional outfit. You know how this works.
Yeah.
Kind of an as we go kind of group here.
Yes, sir.
But we are here. We are live. There's two of us. We're doing the dang thing. But hello to listeners new and old. Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube, and I'm joined by Quilly in the bottom right. Quilly, how's it going?
Doing good. Happy to be here. Another week. Another yap sesh for Carball.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning into the Boost Over Ball podcast. On today's episode, we will be doing a top 20 RLCS team power ranking. Our way too early power rankings of RLCS teams, including all regions. So, take with that, what you will. And then from there, we'll round out our episode with some Reds roster rumors and overtime. So, kind of a little bit of probably a little bit of a shorter episode today, but we're in a little bit of a lull. We're waiting for some final roster things to shift out, and we will bring everyone on the fence, our new segment that we've been labbing, probably next week as we get closer and closer to this next RLCS season, as we're just about 5 weeks away.
That's crazy. It's 5 weeks away. Usually I'm just used to like such a long off season to look forward to, but now we got CRL that just happened this past weekend. Who'd have thought former world champion beats college players?
Yeah, I don't I have no idea. It's kind of crazy. But we got a lot to talk about. We got a lot to go through, kind of. So first and foremost, let's dive right into our power rankings. I feel like
How many are we doing?
20.
I feel like 20 may be hard.
It might be.
I feel like 10 to 15 might be a very easily manageable. I feel like that 15 to 20 range, even the 10 to 15, we might be
scraping the bottom of the barrel maybe a little bit there. Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. But that's
how far we can make it.
Yeah, but that's why we're here. That's why we get to do what we do, because it might be entertaining. And I'm sure we'll forget about somebody, and I'm sure we'll power rank someone in a totally wrong spot, but that's half the fun, right? Being able to laugh at yourself later and next week when I'm like, oh, I really forgot about this roster. So here we are. But, first and foremost, I feel like our top two are pretty well set in my eyes.
Well, who's going? Are we doing this like a take turn, I'm assuming?
Or do we want to do it collectively?
I feel like it's more fun to do it taking turns, because then someone could just throw off the whole thing.
That's fair.
With their own biased opinion.
Yeah, no. Okay. I'm down. Do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
Well, I feel like the 1A, 1B, but also it's like not 1A, 1B. All right, I'll do number one.
Okay.
I'm gonna do it. Cat's out of the bag. It's got to be Falcons. The new addition. Drolly, top 5 player in the world. Possibly top 3. Possibly top 2.
Maybe even top 1.
But being added to the Twins, obviously TRK, the most dangerous 3 letters, it has been replaced. That's how good of a player Drolly is, that they wanted to replace TRK, who was honestly at times one of the best on the Falcons. That team is just so interchangeable. I feel like the Twins is obviously it's a dynamic you can't change, because I feel like if you try to cut one, the other one's gonna be like, what the heck, man? That's not cool. So I feel like TRK was the only one that could be moved. But I mean, even with that, you're not losing with losing any. You're like, there's no losing with switching any of them out for Drolly, because Drolly is that great of a player, and there's no language barrier. So it's a great roster, and they are, in my opinion, by far the 1A team.
Yeah. And that, that makes sense, and that was the kind of the argument that I was going through in my head was, is it Falcons because you've taken, one of the most potent teams in the world in Falcons, and you've switched out, who arguably one of the best players in the world in TRK, for you've upgraded, which I didn't think was going to happen, right? I just assumed Falcons were going to stick because they have the three best players, or I thought that they were the three best players in the region. Nubo certainly is making a case for that, being the reigning 1v1 champion, and I'm sure we'll get to Twisted Minds pretty shortly on this list, but for all the reasons that you said Falcons, for it's a lot of the same reasons that I have to pick NRG at 2. 1A, 1B, they're the reigning world champions. They're by far the best team in North America, in my opinion, and until they're not, gotta pick NRG. Like, gotta believe in the squad. They're not gonna make a change. They're gonna run it back, and I would also imagine that this is probably your NA or your US FIFA E squad too, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Beast Mode makes it there this year. Obviously, they haven't announced it yet. I don't think any teams have been officially announced yet. Just a lot of rumor teams here, so hopefully they make it out this year, and hopefully, obviously we know Reynolds is retired, so luckily that won't be, assumingly won't be the roster this time around. But yeah, hopefully the NRG boys make it, and we get an even more interesting FIFA E. But going to the 3 spot, this is where things immediately become tricky, because obviously K-Corp last season was the number 1 team, but they lost their Drawley. We got Twisted Mind adding TRK and Monkey Moon. You can even add Vitality, who lost Monkey Moon and got Stizzy. You can make that more of a play style fit than a just pure name power fit. You got the list goes on and on.
KC making a change, bringing in Juicy. You have almost NIP with Archie. You have
Mates
with
Mates. Yeah. Did Mates sign a roster yet?
I don't think they did. No. NIP. No. GK has Seiko, Abject, Joyo, Vitality, and KC. We talked about NIP. We talked about, so no. Nothing from Mates, but maybe.
All right. Is this NA bias? Could freaking be. But guess what? I believe in First Killer still. Kofor. They even were able to take Violent Panda from Dignitas. It seemed like he was going to be spending. I felt like he was going to be there for years on end. I feel like he was just that was going to be into the sunset, but. Shopify Rebellion. This roster has a lot of potential, but obviously, as we know, First Killer's entire career has run on a lot of potential ever since the FaZe days, right? FaZe days.
Yeah,
back when he was the regional dog.
When he won regionals, yeah, because he played for Rogue, he played for a couple teams, but FaZe was when he came the closest to winning an international event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think being this is a way too early power rankings, we got a little bit of leeway to rank them however we want.
Yeah, there's some hype. There's got to be some hype involved in this, and some of the bias. That's where we live for this. And for every reason that you put we can't go out of the top 5 without putting an EU team. And so for me, I got to put Vitality here. I've seen some TikTok clips. I've seen some YouTube clips of Zen and Stizzy playing 2s together. It's a bit terrifying. They're pre-jumping the pre-jump, and it's in 2s. So I think that that's going to be a pretty crazy roster to try and deal with. Zen, everyone knows his mechanical ability and his prowess, and Stizzy, kind of made a name for himself, especially this season on Dignitas, being their first man, their big striker. So like, just imagine if Stizzy beats 2 people, Zen only has to beat 1. So for that reason, I have them 4th.
No, it's fair. I think, like I said, it's more of a play style fit than a big name fit. So I think that's even scarier. Hopefully, Eversax can get this team rolling and they can do good things. Because for Zen's sake, before he loses his mind because he goes from winning it all to for 2 straight years not winning anything. So hopefully some change is good for them. But yeah, following up in the 5 spot, I will say 1 through 5, these are all interchangeable of who can win any LAN. I think even the 6, 7, 8 might even, but I think still you have to respect them. Vatira and Atau with Farah, even with Juicy. I think you got to respect the whiteboard and all their play styles. I think K Corp, they could even get higher than 5, but I think they are without a doubt. You can't get them any lower than 5 because just the pure power and teamwork they have. Vatira and Atau, as you've seen, just 2 great players. And like we dogged on it last week saying Juicy was Drawley from Temu, but we say that in a respectful way because Juicy is still one heck of a freestyle.
Yeah, no, he definitely has made an enormous name for himself after playing for that Gentlemates roster. I'm still a little bit surprised they let all their players go, like Yujin and Juicy, but I think Karmine Corp are lucky to be able to pick up Juicy. Would they probably have preferred to keep Drawley? I think most certainly yes, but I don't think this is that far of a drop off as other people are thinking. So I think that's a really good spot for him. I think I gotta go a little bit off the board here, and I'm gonna take Furia at 6. Furia make a move. They pick up they pick up Swift instead of Drafinho. So now that roster is Yan, Lost, and Swift. Lost looked really good at points last season. Of course, Yan still Sam MVP. Still Yan. He's insane. And Swift, I think, really was the engine and the driving force behind Team Secret's resurgence down the stretch after a rather abysmal showing at the first major. But they certainly rebounded in a huge way with a top 6 in Raleigh and a top 8 at Worlds. So they outperformed and outclassed Furia. I think that taking Swift will cause quite a bit of a drop off in Team Secret. I would imagine that Team Secret just turns around and picks up Drafinho, if I had to guess. That just seems like the logical step. But for the roster move and because they're Furia and they want to bounce back, I got them at 6.
And no, I definitely your pick to make. I don't know if that would have been my pick because we don't know how it's going to mesh, but obviously too early power rankings. You got to respect them. Hopefully we get, because I think last year we had them top 4 in the power rankings. So not too hard of a fall off based off, especially how unfortunate the results were last year. But I have checked. Gentlemen do have a roster. They are assigned roster. They have the Archie roster.
Okay. Yeah. You're right.
I'm now on the Shift Twitter to see what teams we're looking at here.
Wait,
but to round
they signed. Yes, you're right. You're right. NIP was still looking for a roster.
Yeah, it's hard to keep track of all these moves.
Yeah, sometimes.
The Rocket League free agency scene is something diabolical. But yeah, moving it into the 7th spot. I don't want to keep it going EU, but it's hard to not respect this team. GK getting Appjack, Seiko, and Rise. We saw
not Rise.
Not Rise. Joyo. My bad.
Yep.
That was going to be my point. Then the following point, we saw a team similar to this with the K Corp the year before the Drawley signing, where they had all purely, I think, rotational and high IQ players. Obviously, didn't win them any lands, and they had some struggles in the regionals. But I think these 3 players are still more high IQ players, and we're down to the 8th spot. We're not saying best in the world, but definitely more than capable of winning. Seiko, Appjack, and Joyo, as I just mentioned, huge, complete ties to the IQ players and all of the scene. I think they are a scary team if they are moving right. So, but we will see how they play. I think 8 seed is more than respectable for just the name talent alone.
GK 7.
And 7, my bad. 7. I think 7 is a respectable spot for them, and expect big things from them. I'm happy to see Seiko on a performing team because Seiko, he was like my original favorite player to watch when I first started watching. So I'm expecting big things out of them.
Very fair. In this 8th spot, I'm going to take Twisted Minds. I think TRK is going to be on the revenge arc after getting, I don't know if kicked or replaced by Drawley. He's certainly going to have a lot to prove. Nubo is going to continue to improve upon his season last year. He really started to kind of come online really towards the end, especially the World Championships. He won the RLCS first 1v1 event, and adding a 2-time world champion and a player like Monkey Moon, I think, can only help their chances. I'm interested to see how their comms will work or what language they'll comm in. I think English is the leading comm language right now, from what I've heard. But if they can overcome that the comming stuff, I think that they will be a very dangerous team.
Yeah, it's a lot of, it's just so much movement. It's so crazy to see. It's so hard to predict. Following it up, between an NA team and an EU team, I feel like I'm picking too many EU teams, but this team on paper, you can't deny it. Gentlemates, as we just talked about before, Archie, Oski, Nas. I think Nas and Oski, as you saw at Worlds, their ability to just turn it on a lane, and even with that, all they needed was a Radosin. And that was more than enough to propel them into taking down the likes of Vitality in an elimination game, which was an insane performance out of them. And I think getting someone like Archie, I think, is an out of left field signing.
Yeah, that one really shocked me. I was so surprised he didn't stick with Joyo.
Alone. Yeah. I thought that those two were set to be together forever as well.
But I mean, that stylistically makes so much sense for mates.
Yeah, but assuming we're getting an Archie, we keep saying that, an Archie that plays more than 2 past 2, seeing what type of, how dedicated he'll be to the game, and but his play style, especially him and Joyo are 2 of the best lane performers in the game. I compare it to American football, to the Kansas City Chiefs. Right now they're rough in the playoffs, but you get them, or rough in the regular season, but you get them in the playoffs. That's a scary team. They're more than capable of taking down quite literally anyone.
They just find a way to win.
Yeah, they just do it. No matter what happens, they somehow seem to come out on top more times than not in the biggest moments. But yeah, it's going to be a more than interesting roster. Just so excited to see all this play out.
So, I kind of apologize a little bit for this, but are we operating under the assumption that Gen G gets it done?
I was gonna say if I did pick Gen G, I'd say put Gen G with an asterisk.
So, and we will talk about it again in the roster rumors, but the rumored roster for Gen G currently is Justin, Magic Bear, and Rise. So if that is the roster, that big if, right? So I'm going to put him with an asterisk. I have Gen G here.
Three asterisks.
Yeah, I put 3 asterisks with Rise under Gen G here at 10. So I think that a roster with Rise would be truly special for Justin. You have all of his experience and all of his talents. You have a potentially fully unlocked Scrim Bear, as we started to see, towards the end of last year. And not only that, you're now bringing in the most experienced LAN player in RLCS history, and one of the, potentially one of the best players of all time. Maybe doesn't have all the results that you might look for, but he certainly has the talent. He certainly has the experience, and he's continuing his world tour, coming over to NA. I have them at 10. If they make the move for Rise, which we'll talk about more here after our power rankings.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be my first pick of a team that doesn't even have an org. Is this going to be a reach? Possibly. But if we're getting based off of World's performances, this team could be scary. The trio of Jorius, Oli, and CRR. Jorius, as we know in Worlds, was one of the best, if not the best at the LAN. He was insane. And Oli was a little bit scary at times, but also when his offense is going, that team is terrifying. And also I'm scared to pick SSG over anyone, because the more I see that roster, the less I feel confident.
I debated going this over Gen G. I like the roster. I think that it's going to be good. If you can, especially now that it seems like Jorius has shaken his playoff curse, it seems like this is going to be a tough roster to deal with.
Yeah, first round Jorius. Or is it top 16 Jorius?
Yep, top 8.
Top 8. The curse.
Only top 8 though.
Mm-hmm.
Next up here at 12, I'm kind of thinking, we're getting to the point where you got to pick SSG. They got to be in here somewhere. But I also kind of like that Yuzhin Red Omitzer roster. Again, that doesn't have an org backing on that one. I also like a roster announced today. It was Rusty Z, Mozzarella, and Astral. I have always been an Astral fan. I think that his mechanics are phenomenal. I think that he's needed a team to kind of unlock that ability and to kind of see the field the way that he does. And I think Rusty Z is that player. So we're going way too early. I think that Rusty Z kind of gets it done. He was, at one time considered to be the next up and coming French talent after Yuzhin, after Mitzer. But I think that, the duo with Mozzarella worked very well for them last year. I think adding, someone with the experience of Astral, and his ability will be a game changer for them. And I think that they can kind of find themselves in some top 8s in EU. And for that reason, I have them here. But again, they don't have a roster, so.
Respectable. Rusty Z, one of the huge names of potential. See what he can do in a slightly bigger role. But this rounds it out to me being, now I get to be biased here just because it's an easy, safe pick, but also still could be a reach because, like I said before, I don't know how much confidence I have in this roster because now they're building around Reveal, who, in the nicest way possible, was the worst of the 3, which isn't like a bad thing because they were still a top 8 team at Worlds. But obviously Scribbles and Kofor were definitely more instrumental into that team's success than Reveal was, whether it was Kofor's demos or Scribbles' ability to defend the net with his gosh dang life. Reveal was just a good complementary piece to them, but definitely not a necessity to the team. He was just good for chemistry, but adding Diaz to the team, a whole lot of potential in him. Obviously, Complexity had their ups, their downs, a lot more downs than ups, but they made a land prior to losing the Bull and replacing him for Frosty. And as we know how Worlds ended, Frosty is a sore subject in some parts, but so I don't know how much of we could blame on Diaz, but Chronic, a good veteran mentor, definitely a quiet one, but hopefully he'll be the middleman in that land setting, and hopefully can keep the boys on the right track. And X-Bear, as we know, a solid, if not really good coach, can maybe get this team firing and possibly be a top 15. Hopefully that NA4 seed can slide themselves into that.
Fair. In our 14th spot, I have another orgless team as of right now, and that is Yuzhin, Radosin, and Mitzer. Me, you, and Red all last season were kind of glazing Radosin quite a bit. We definitely said that was going to be the end of the Gentle Mates roster, and the kind of the downfall of the Mates roster. We were right about that. We thought it would be the downfall of the NIP roster, and we were wrong about that one. He played fantastically with NIP. Job Security Radosin back in full swing, and he finds himself a roster with 2 young up-and-coming players in Yuzhin and Mitzer. They don't have org backing right now. I imagine they will with his pedigree and the fact that he is a former world champion alongside 2 fantastically mechanical young players. I think that he has himself a good roster. I think it might take them a little bit of time to kind of grow into it, but I think that they will be a competitive team in EU.
And following that, we put an Astros team in here. I feel like the only thing is fair is to put the Sam 2 Astros team and Team Secret, and assuming they get Drafino, I honestly feel like they could be higher than this, but we don't know. But I'm definitely going to be taking it's just hard because obviously we don't know. I know we put Genji was put top 10, but based off of potential, and it's just hard because Rise is at least rumored. It's Team Secret. It's just assumed Drafino is going to go there. We don't know at all. There's no inkling. We have genuinely no idea what Drafino's doing or Team Secret is doing. So I think down here is not the worst, just purely based off of not knowing anything going on. But yeah, Drafino added to that team of Mitzer. Nope, not Mitzer. Oh my gosh, why am I blanking? Swift and nope, Swift just went to Furio. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the other two. But yeah, I think Drafino added to them who the emergence of this team in the last two lands.
Brad and Mata. No,
Right.
it was KV1 Mata Swift, and then Swift left. So I would imagine it's going to be KV1 Mata Drafino.
Yeah, Swift is the only one I really know off that team, just because it's just cool watching him play. But
they also
my silly Cooley memory.
Yeah, but also I would like to remind everyone that Furia also took the secret coach Bruno.
Oh,
so.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, they switched the coach and
they took Swift and the coach. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Swift and coach. But yeah, just purely based off results of last year and assuming they're getting Drafino, there's no reason why they shouldn't be a top 15 team in the world, assuming they all keep their play style up.
For sure. So I feel like here at 16, this is where we're starting to getting down there. But again, this is the rumored team that I've heard from all intents and purposes here. But that is Cheese, Frosty, and Sosa.
Not the. You're putting them at 16.
Who else would I put?
Who I'm putting next? Wait, do you get to give your reasoning?
I think that Cheese is a good player. I think that they're making lands. We've seen Frosty play well. I think that he was kind of a bright spot for complexity down the stretch. They weren't able to get it done, especially after Raise Bull leaving. But I will have to wait and see. I'm very intrigued to see what Sosa can do coming back after spending some time in APAC last season. So I have them at 16 here, but also they're definitely not top 4 NA. I don't think. I just think that they are better than some of the minor region teams here, which is rather, say what you want.
Yeah. Well, following that, I lied. I'm actually going to put a different team than what I had originally. I'm going to do the new version of Virtus Pro, not under the VP roster. I believe it is Sphinx, Catalysm, and Kevin. Obviously, Sphinx, the highest rated playmaker in the entirety of Worlds. A great outing from him. Catalysm, we know the 5-head is solid player, but we're getting to the lower portion, and this team was able to win out in the play-ins, last chance. I don't know that new
the play-ins. Yeah, the play-ins. Yep, you got it.
The play-in for the last chance qualifier, but they were great performers. They were definitely one of, if not the best of the 4 that made it out of there. Assuming ROC, but I don't even know what happened on that roster. Did ROC stick?
As far as I know, yes.
All right, but yeah, with that, I'm gonna go with them because obviously they have a lot to build on. They were more than capable of winning. They looked great at Worlds, but I think with Kevin, we'll see what this new roster turns out to be.
I think that is a good one. I definitely thought about placing them there. One kind of thing that I am noticing a little bit more and more is who we have every region represented here except for SSA and OCE.
I think it's going to stay that way.
I think it will too, partially because I think that we're getting into the area where they could come into play on this list, but also, all's quiet on the Eastern Front in terms of OCE. All the players have been released from their teams. I have absolutely no clue who is playing with who, or who is going where, or what orgs are sticking, or what orgs aren't sticking. It's eerily quiet, at least for me, in terms of that.
Because I'm saying wild card isn't still together, right?
No, they released their roster.
Yeah, so it's it's really confusing. It's a lawless country out there.
I mean, it happens every year. Like we're not like I feel like we're not. You know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but with no Foot, with no we're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel with confirmed rosters thus far, and some asterisks in terms of not confirmed rosters. I'm gonna go ROC here. I think that they are still a good team. They still made it out of the play-ins, even if they weren't able to do much more than that. But they're still a great team. I think that they are only going to get better now that they've had a little bit of land experience. However, I find it very difficult to think that they'll make anything outside of the World Championships because of how stacked Falcons and Twisted Minds are.
Yeah, no, ROC definitely showed out. Another team, just like the VP team that was great in the play-ins. I'd follow that up. I think this, just because we're in a bunch of the unknown area, I'm picking the most mid team of all time. Atomic, Tox, and Raziers. Obviously, Atomic was a player that made it to Worlds through Twisted Minds. Tox and Raziers have always been a player that are bubbling around, making it that next step. Obviously, they're all relatively unks to the game. I believe Raziers and Tox are both 22, respectively.
Yep.
So I think this is just a very average team that can find themselves at 20th in the world because we don't know. It's a lot of unknown with the other teams. So I think a respectable 19's okay.
Last, I would like to go with Nico and Juke, but I don't know who their third is. I don't know who their, what roster they have. I would have to imagine that they will pick up a new third under the BDS banner because BDS liked to have them both. But until that happens, I can't pick them. So for now, I think that at least to my knowledge, right? 2 Danes, 1 Bruv is going to stick around. I don't know that they're going to switch. And that's Edge, B, Tempo, and Acro with Coach Noah. So for that reason, and just because I'm struggling to think of another one, I'm gonna do that.
Winthrop, give me Winthrop.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Or what about Gas? We've been sleeping on Gas.
Is he allowed to? Is he technically allowed to? Because I'm assuming he's gonna be busy with school and playing CRL.
So that is one thing that I have been a little bit
curious about.
No, there's no rules. You can play in both. You can do whatever you want. The Northwood roster used to compete in RLCS as a team. Especially after grabbing, kind of some bubble players for that to fill out that roster. But it's the Wild West still. You can play CRL, you can play RLCS. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So we did it. We made it to 20. A little bit
scuffed.
A little bit scuffed towards the end because everything's not fully confirmed yet. I'm sure we will do this again once we get closer to the start of the season, once all the rosters have kind of been finalized and fleshed out a little bit. But to recap, first we have Falcons, then NRG, Shopify Rebellion, Vitality, and Carmine Corps rounding out the top 5. In 6th, Furia, GK 7th, Twisted Minds 8th, Gentlemates 9, Gen G, Asterix with Rise at 10. We then have Joria's Oli CRR, Rusty Z, Mozzarella, Astral, Space Station at 13, Eugen, Radosin, Mitzer, Team Secret with Asterix with Drafinio at 15. We have Cheese Frosty Sosa at 16. We have Sphinx Catalysm and Kevin at 17. We have ROC at 18. We have Atomic, Tox, and Raziers at 19. And rounding out our list in 20th, we have Acro, Edgeby, and Tempo, the 2 Danes, 1 Bruv roster, provided they stick together.
Yeah, I will say without a doubt for all you listening, obviously we probably missed some. This is quite off the dome, relatively. So if we missed anyone, or if you think any of our picks were egregious, be sure to give us a reply on X or any of the other socials.
Make sure to @Red on Twitter and tell him that he messed up.
Yeah. Make sure to blame everything on Red if it's a bad pick. I think Falcons #1 team go, yeah, Red, you freaking dingus. How'd you pick that over NRG? Just kidding. He would pick NRG #1 actually.
He definitely would. He definitely would. But with that, we've teased a few of them. I think it's time for some roster rumors here. Like I said, we've teased a couple of them, but we'll kind of go into a little bit more depth now. First and foremost, the French org Game Ward is in talks to sign Rusty Z, Mozzarella, and Astro. Would be cool to have another French-backed org in RLCS, and it appears that is going to happen. I'm sure people have seen it on Twitter. Quilly mentioned it earlier. Reddles officially announces his retirement from RLCS. I will be interested to kind of see if he follows like in Garrett G's footsteps and signs with the CRL team for the spring, but we will have to wait and see on that one. Cheese, Frosty, and Sosa are rumored to be teaming and could be signed by Foot Esports. So here's where it gets a little bit tricky. So Cheese has a buyout because he is under contract still with Gen G. However, Gen G wants to kick Cheese so that they can bring in Rise. So, if Foot is able to complete the buyout of Cheese and sign this roster, then that will give Gen G the monetary flexibility to bring in and sign Rise. If Foot does not pay for the buyout of Cheese, Gen G will not be signing Rise. To my knowledge, is that what you have understood as well?
Yeah, it's about my understanding of it. It's very confusing. All these restricted, it's like every season, it's really confusing between who's a restricted free agent, who's an unrestricted free agent. So it's really all up in the air. We'll obviously see how it all plays out, but from the understanding of what X has told me, it seems like that is the case.
Yeah, well. But that's kind of it for the RLCS based roster rumors that we've heard. Things have kind of slowed down a little bit as teams kind of, now that the dust is settled, then people see who's still left over in free agency. I'm sure more rosters will get formed and get signed, or orgs will come in or leave, as we get closer to RLCS season. But we have some FIFA E roster rumors. So the rumored England national team is apparently Jack, Archie, and Joyo with sub Toxic. However, that is still subject to change because if you're up to date on your England ball, Rise was not on that list. So I don't know if he will be involved as a starter or as a sub. I think that he is certainly a player that should be involved. Whether that is a starter as a sub, but we'll have to wait and see. France's rumored roster is Zen, Vatira, and Exotic with sub Juicy. I know you're quite the Exotic lover, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. Belgium's roster is Atau, Astral, and Reese Fox with Coach Eversax. The Malaysian team is Sphinx, Blue, and Misty. The German team of Tox, Raziers, and Catalysm. Our Brazilian team of Yan, Swift, and Lost, so just the Furia roster, and the Chilean team of Davitrox, Razebull, and Pan. So, again, these are just the rumored rosters that we've seen thus far. We still have, 2 months until FIFA E kicks off in December, so we'll have to wait and see what teams qualify and what rosters they decide to bring, but that is what we know for now. A little bit of a quieter week compared to the past 2 weeks that we've had for roster rumors, but nevertheless, there they are.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I don't know how Exotic was the pick there. Obviously, I know it didn't work they made it to the grand finals with Monkey Moon. Obviously, that it's a solid roster, but I think like players like Seiko are sitting. Good French players. Obviously, honestly, bring up a young kid. Bring up Nico. Pretty sure he's French, like 90% sure. The French prodigy.
No. Nico is Danish.
That's what it is. All right, that's on me. Casual Quilly here, but
the rest of them are. Juke is French. So is Mitzer and Eugen.
And Yuzhin, another great pick. Juicy, another great pick. Pretty sure Juicy's French as well.
He certainly is.
But honestly, I still think Seiko would have been a great pick. I don't know. I'm just because he's friend of Zen. Zen's probably got a lot of pull. It's kind of hard to argue with him. But yeah,
I mean, still, like
obviously-
when Exotic is playing well, he is one of the best in the world. But when he's not, he's not. It's like Monkey Moon, you know.
Yeah, that's so. It's not my pick. Obviously, not my team. Honestly, I like the signing in terms of seeing them lose because I know Exotic's more than capable of pulling that team down.
Yeah.
Please NA. Please NA. Please NRG go to the world. Or go to FIFA.
Yeah, we need to see it. We need to see it. But now I think it's time for overtime. Some of these questions are from our Discord, from Water, and from This Is Oof TM. Come join our Discord. Come talk some ball. But the first question is, where do you guys think Daniel ranks all time?
That's a hard one. He's got 2 LAN wins, right?
Yep, including a world championship. Yep.
2 LAN wins. He won not Birmingham. The Copenhagen major, and now Worlds in France. 2 huge lanes to win. I think he's got. I can't even count how many regionals does he have under his belt?
Too many.
Too many. Dating all the way back to the SSG days. And everything prior, obviously some drama with that team. But I feel like he's without a doubt got to be top 10.
That's what I was gonna say too, because like I mean, Kronovi's up there, has to be one of the pioneers of NA Rocket League. I think you have to consider like Squishy to be up there. I think Garrett G, I think Garrett G has to be up there. He's got a world championship. I think Justin's got to be up there. Again, he's got a world championship. But then I think you kind of get into the place where it's like, okay, maybe it's Atomic, maybe it's Daniel, maybe it's Beast Mode. You know,
Zen. You think Zen's above Daniel? Obviously Turbo's above him.
Yeah, Turbo, K-Dop, Monkey Moon. Really, anybody? What?
Do you think Farah gets included purely based off being a player and coach?
I would say no. I think he's one of the greatest Rocket League coaches of all time. I don't know that necessarily he was one of the best Rocket League players of all time. But I mean, Daniel joins an elite company winning a Worlds. I think that he's still firmly behind people who have won multiple Worlds. Just because I think that it's, if it's hard to do once, it's really hard to do twice. So I think top 10, top 15 could kind of be where he's sitting right now. But next question we have, who is on your Mount Rushmore of MENA Rocket League now that they've fully broken through to being considered, a quote-unquote major region? And it doesn't necessarily have to be only players. So for me, one of the automatic inclusions into this is InCivic, who was started Sandrock Gaming, is the reason that those players were allowed to play full time, has been, an advocate and an ally to MENA Rocket League since before the AU were even included in RLCS. I feel like he has to be a lock in the Mount Rushmore, and then we got 3 more people.
Yeah, but I mean, even from those days, like those players,
Khalid, Ahmed.
They have to be included. One of them has to be included regardless, just because what they did for the game in that region. TRK was even around back then too, but I think Ahmed. It's really between Khalid and Ahmed, but TRK being around back then too gives him so much longevity for the MENA region.
I mean, I almost want to go Ahmed, Khalid, and TRK to round out.
You don't think Ruas being one of the best ones player in the world?
That's tough.
Yeah, it gets really because that's just straight up. You just pretty much just named the Falcons roster from 2021.
I know, I definitely did. You're right, but also, I mean, just like Khalid or Ahmed has one of them at least has to be included. I would agree with you there. I mean, I feel like I would include Nubo over Rawas, though
Just
Rawas
'cause
was
he won the ones.
yeah, because he's the best 1v1 player in the world. Just
Hard to
purely
argue against that.
what?
It's hard to argue against that. I think it's just hard.
But he
to
didn't
rank
win a.
it.
He didn't win an. He hasn't won a threes land like Rawas and
He hasn't,
TRK.
he hasn't even made it far in the threes lands yet.
No,
Did they win a regional? Or did Falcons sweep all of them?
I think Falcons swept them all.
It's hard. See, the only thing it's hard to do a Mount Rushmore just because like the emergence of them. Because obviously, if you want to go all time, just go off the 4 you named, especially with Ahmed, Khalid, and TRK as the players. That one's a tricky one.
No, they won Open 2. That's it.
Okay, so they do have one. I don't know. That's hard.
So let's for argument's sake, we got in Civic, we got Ahmed, or we got Khalid. You want to do a TRK and a Nubo?
Sure.
Okay.
Can't argue that. You know more ball than me about the older times, so.
Well, I mean, he just like Nubo has a world championship under his belt, even if it's only for ones. That's still nothing to shake a stick at. Yeah, no.
Well, he did it on the biggest stage in front of literally as the away player.
Yep. And then the last question that we have for overtime for today before we wrap up is, besides Sam, what minor region do you think will be on the up and coming? Which one do you like? What do you have to look out for?
I feel like the easy one to pick is APAC. I'm assuming Mina's also not counted as minor region team anymore.
Yeah, I think it's basically between SSA, OCE, and APAC.
Yeah, and I think it's without a doubt APAC. They've made it the farthest. But Oceania made a top 8. But like,
top 6.
It was the weirdest,
top 6.
They made a top 6. They made it to Sunday, but in the weirdest way humanly possible.
They certainly did.
But then, like, the OCE 2 seed is TSM, who was the laughingstock of the bottom of the barrel teams at Worlds. So,
yeah. I mean, it's interesting though, because like I feel like OCE has at least right now, has a higher ceiling than APAC.
Yeah.
However, I think the APAC floor is a lot higher.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's a lot of room for growth in APAC, right? So like Korea and China and Japan, there's a lot of people there. There's a lot of possibility for Rocket League to continue to grow and to become a more popular esport, because the more people you have, the more competitive the game will be. So I think that for that reason alone, like the growth potential, that puts them in first place for me outside of the the major regions and Sam that we have so far. But I think right now I would take, if I was having to pick between APAC and OCE to win an event sooner, I think I'm picking OCE just because of what we saw at Worlds.
Yeah, but I mean, OCE has been a team that's supposed to have been next up for the past, I think, 3 years now. And
even more than that, yeah.
Yeah, and they're yet to. I mean, technically, they did make it. See, it's hard because they made that top 6, but again, in the weirdest way possible. So it's like, did they take that next step? Because they didn't do anything. Quite literally, they did not do anything all season prior.
Yeah, I mean, Wildcard swept Furia and
K-Corp.
Yeah,
and then it was downhill.
They swept Furia, they swept Dignitas to get into the upper brackets. They got curb stomped by Falcons, and then they lost to GK. So, they kind of caught lightning in a bottle a little bit, beating down Furia and then beating down Dignitas, and that they looked awesome in that, but Dignitas also looked terrible. And then when it mattered most, they did not look very good. against Falcons or GK. So, but I think you're right. They've been next up for quite a while now, and I think that it might be time to hand the crown over to somebody else.
Give me APAC.
Give me APAC as well.
Give me the Japan emergence.
Oh yeah,
off viewership alone, they got to get good at this. Someone in the did they had like 200K plus viewers in like one of their live streams.
Realize was averaging like 18K viewers for like their open qualifier runs.
20K, not 200. One too many zeros.
But I mean, that's for an open qualifier run for one player perspective is crazy.
Yeah. So so one of those 18K players has to be like really good at the game.
Yeah. Or becoming really good at the game.
Yeah, one or the other. Like he just goes, "Oh, this is my calling."
Some 13-year-old somewhere.
Yeah.
Getting ready to play in RLCS at 14. But
now that you don't get banned for a year for it.
No kidding. But that was the last overtime question that I have. Is there anything else that you want to add before we wrap up for today's episode?
Who's your early prediction for number one player in the world next season?
Like best individual player?
Yeah.
Nubo.
Oof. You think he takes that next step?
I do. I think he can build off of the confidence that that winning a ones world championship will bring. I think that he was starting to show it a little bit. But that's kind of who I think would take the next step. I could also see Drali just being an absolute menace, being able to play with Ruas and Killiers. So, one of those two, or if I'm picking somebody from the other region, I'm going to stick with Beast Mode.
I think after Split 1, when they cut Exotic, I think Zen will take over, retake over as number one place in the world.
After they cut Exotic is crazy.
I'm waiting for it. That day it happens, I'm gonna wave my finger and go, I told you so!
Yeah.
I told you so! I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, you can clip it and we'll come back to it and give you your flowers if that is the case.
Or they're gonna win Major 1, I'm gonna look stupid. One or the other.
Yeah, well, we'll see. You can never really tell with Vitality sometimes, in my opinion, so we'll have to wait and see. But, you got anything else?
That is all.
Okay. Well, with that, I think it's time to wrap up for today's episode. We'd like to thank you all so much for listening. We'd like to remind everyone that this podcast is proudly brought to you by our name-level supporters on Patreon, Alyssa B. Please remember to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, share the show, tell a friend. It all helps us grow our audience and improve the show. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Twitch, which we're currently live streaming on right now. Come join our Discord. Come talk some ball. Come talk some rock. We always have a good time. That's where we pull a lot of our overtime questions from. So if you want a chance to have your question answered on the show, please join the Discord and come talk with us. Make sure to support us by checking out our merch store and our Patreon. This is how we'll be funding the show and doing giveaways in the future, like I said. All of these links and more can be found on our website at boostoverball.com. And from us on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball. See ya!
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.